Hey guys, welcome to the live by IntelliPath. I am Ram and I'll be the one covering the live today. So guys, today we'll be learning how to start coding. So if you're a fresher or if you're someone who's just interested into getting into coding, then this live is for you. All right. So in this session, we'll basically be discussing a lot of different topics that will pertain to how you can start with coding. All right, guys. Now, we always do this for our YouTube regulars, but if you're new here, please stick till the end because there is a surprise for you. All right, so now let's take a quick look at our agenda. So, in our session today, we'll be discussing different topics, and these are the different topics. First, why learn coding? Then, we'll move on to how you can start coding for yourself. How will you start it? Then, third, we'll discuss which languages should you start with? Which language should you choose? Then we'll discuss how you can choose a project. We'll discuss what this particular topic is. And then we'll discuss the learning path. What is the learning path you should take? And finally, we will conclude by discussing what are the different kinds of jobs you can get in this particular field. So guys, let's go ahead and start the session. So our first question here is, our first discussion topic, why learn coding? So this is a question for you as well as me. Why should you learn coding? And do you really want to learn it? So let's actually discuss a story. So we have a person, and this person wants to earn a very high salary. They don't know what they want to do in life, but they just know they want to learn, they want to earn a very high salary. So they decide to become a software engineer or software developer because they heard that it pays a lot. Then there is a person who's just interested in coding and in developing, in programming. So they take up this particular field of coding, programming, just because they're interested in this field. And then there's this third person. He has already been working in a particular field. Suppose he's a business analyst. Now he's been working since the 90s or the 80s. And during that time, they didn't use any such, special algorithms to think about the data and make powerful decisions. But these days, the market has to change and he has to adapt with the market to incorporate coding into his own, working culture so that he can make better decisions based on the data that is being collected. You know how data science works, right? So all these three people have the same goal in mind. They want to become better at coding. They want to become coders or programmers. They want to become programmers. At least they want to learn what coding is or how to work with coding. So these can be few of the reasons why you would want to become a coder. Maybe you want to get a really high paying job. Maybe you're just interested in coding. Maybe you're just, learning coding to adapt with the change, with the market, adapt to the market, adapt to the change that's happening to the market. So you should ask yourself, why do you want to learn coding? Now, this is important. You should ask this question to yourself because, if you don't have the motive of your learning in mind properly, then you will, fall off the horse. Once you start learning coding, if you see, come across an error, then if you're not able to solve that error, then you'll stop doing it because you don't have any proper motivation. So make sure that you have a proper motivation in your mind when you start off by learning what coding is. So ask yourselves this question. Why do you want to learn coding? All right, guys. Now let's discuss how you can start coding by yourself. Okay. So you can start coding off, basically by figuring out what you want to do. All right. So let's discuss this. So now you've asked yourself that, what is your motive to become a coder? Why do you want to program? Now you have to go ahead with the next step, that is to learn how to start coding. So coding, this is a very generic term, how to start coding. It's a very vast field. Computer science is a very vast field. There are so many different fields you can get into. So you have to narrow it down. So, this is like problem solving. You have a very big problem. You divide into smaller parts and then solve it. So similarly with this question of how to start coding, you need to divide it into a smaller component. So with the question how to start coding, you should first go ahead and narrow it down to where do you want to code or how do you want to code. So first you need to figure out what do you want to do with coding. Do you want to develop an application? Do you want to make a bot? Do you want to develop a website? What kind of thing do you want to do? So once you figured that out, you should go ahead and learn what are the languages and the tools that are required for the particular thing. Let me give you an example, like of the person who is just interested in coding, but he's never gotten into coding. He's just heard about how hacking is so cool and he wants to get into coding. So he starts off by first deciding what kind of projects he wants to do. So he wants to do a project where he's going to be making a recommendation system on a website. But the thing is, this recommendation system does not use any powerful algorithms or something. It's just for him to share a few details with his family, because the family lives far apart. So he just wants to share a few details with them. So to do that, he's just made this application. So see, it has a practical use, this particular project. And while doing this project, he's learning a lot of things. He's learning how to code a website. He's learning HTML, CSS, JavaScript, PHP, database technology, a lot of different things. Now, this is how I recommend you should go ahead with it too. You should first figure out what you want to do, then figure out what language and tool you need for it, then learn the basics of that language. Like, all the different basics of a particular language, you should learn that and then move ahead and make the application. Now, a disclaimer here. When you're going to make this application, make sure that the application you're making is a very simple one. Because when you start off, always start with baby steps. Because if you start with something gigantic, if you want to make like the whole Facebook website, then you'll obviously fall off the first step itself because you don't know where to start from. So if you're rather making such a huge website, what you can do is you can just start by creating a small website where you basically can create accounts and post statuses. That's it. So this is how I suggest you guys should start off by should start coding. All right. So first, that is figure out what you want to do. So let me give you an example. So you can do a lot of things. You can make a small game. So if you're into gaming and you want to make a particular small, you want to get into the gaming industry, you want to become a game developer, then you should start off by making a very small game, app. Not an apps per se, like a particular, like a snake ladders, snake game, the one we had on our Nokia mobiles, like that sort of a game, or very simple one, like, the defender game where you're basically shooting aliens from below. And if you're not that, then you can go ahead and make a web application or a mobile application, a very simple one per se, very small things. In mobile app, if you're going to make a mobile app, I would recommend not going for a mobile app right now. But if you're really interested in making a mobile app, then you can go ahead and make a very simple app that just opens up and tells you what the time is. So that way. So then this way, first figure out what you really want to do as a project. Then figure out what are the languages and tools you can use. So there are a lot of languages out there that you can use. Like, let me give you, you have Python, C++, JavaScript, and you have similarly tools with them that you have to use with them. You can use your IDEs, that are integrated development environments, basically where you write the code, and you need compilers and all those tools. So figure out what do you need with all of this. So to give you a better idea, let's take an example of, you want to make a web application. So you've decided that you're going to be making that web application where you're basically going to be displaying time of all the family members that are living across the globe. And then you decide to choose a particular language. You go ahead using JavaScript because, that is what's used to create the front end. You use JavaScript, HTML, CSS to make the front end. And then you decide to use a particular tool. Maybe you're using Visual Studio Code as the place where you write the JavaScript code. So that is the tool you're using. Then you learn the basics of that language. Now, JavaScript will have a lot of different basics, but it has some coding basics also. Like, you have your loops, like for loops, while loops, then you have if statements, then you have variables, then you have functions and arrays. So these are kind of the basics of the particular language. Not just the language, these are fundamentals of any language. When you're working with any language, you'll have loops, if statements, variables, and functions and arrays. And similarly, that example of, making that website, you're learning JavaScript, so you'll have to learn these, and then you have to learn the basics of the language itself. You'll have to learn a little bit of HTML, a little bit of CSS, a little bit of JavaScript. And once you learn all of those, the fundamentals of all of those things, then you can go ahead and create the application that you want to. Now, and then create a basic application. So now, he knows what he wants to create and he's creating it then. So the process of creation, when he's creating the web application, he'll be learning a lot of things. He'll be learning how to create functions in JavaScript. He'll be learning how to place certain things using CSS, how to color them, how to make it more fancy looking, and how to divide the content using HTML. So a lot of different things you'll be learning when you're creating this application. Now remember, a very important factor here is that you should not go for something that is complicated. You should go for something that is very simple. If you go for very simple, then in the starting it feels like, oh, I'm not doing anything, but you're actually learning. So if you complete this application right, then you should give yourself a pat on the back because you've done something amazing. You started from not knowing anything in coding to create a basic application. Yeah, that's a good step. Once you've learned this, then you should go ahead for different other applications. Like once you completed your first project, do a second project. This time when you're doing a second project, make sure that it's a little bit more complicated. Again, not so complicated as making a whole Facebook website. Make it a little bit more complicated so that you can work with it and learn new things with it. So, the whole cycle repeats. You define an aim again. You choose the particular language. Well, you already chosen the language. You choose what are the libraries you're going to use, all the different tools you're going to use, and you're going to learn how to use them. So this way, slowly doing projects, you'll learn how to become a coder. So guys, that is how you're going to start coding. All right, so let me just briefly tell you like how you should choose what kind of language, what kind of tools you need to use. So all those things, let me just brief you on that. So when it comes to which language should you choose, not just for working with your project, maybe you're thinking, okay, so I've understood this guy's way, but I just want to start with a language. I've heard of all these different languages, C++, Java, Python. So which language should I choose, So that really depends because there are a lot of different factors here. So you have a lot of languages out there. You have Python, Kotlin, C++, C#, JavaScript, Swift, Java, Ruby, PHP, Node.js, R. There are so many different languages for so many different use cases. So again, you would have to define an aim for yourself, define a particular project for yourself so that, you can learn all these tools and languages on the journey there. Because if you have an aim, you won't falter. You won't, if you have an error, you will try to solve it. You will try to solve it because you have an aim and you want to accomplish that aim. So that's why. So choosing a language, well, I would actually recommend you guys start off with Python itself. Well, Python and JavaScript are pretty easy to start off with. But personally, I would recommend Python because Python is one of the most easiest languages out there. Now, it's very easy to learn. Like the learning curve is not very steep. It's a very gradual curve. So you can learn easily with Python. It's got very simple syntax, you don't have to type complicated syntax for it. You have a lot of different tutorials and guides out there. We ourselves in Telepath have a very long lecture that gives you everything you need to know about Python. So right now you can open up another tab and type in Python in Telepath and you'll find a very good video that will explain to you how you can start coding with Python. And if you're especially a fresher who doesn't know what he wants to do, then you should definitely check this out because it will give you an idea about coding itself and you'll be getting Python. Now, remember I said that Python is simple. Now, it's simple doesn't mean it's bad. Python has so many different use cases. I can't even list them down right now. A few of them might be software development, data science, and creating bots, writing scripts. There are so many things you can do with Python. And Python is very powerful. A lot of different enterprises make use of Python for their particular applications and whatever they're working with, their projects. They use Python. Python is a very important language. So I suggest you guys to start off with Python. If you want to learn Python, you can start off by, looking at the different tutorials, different guides. And if you think you need a, certification in Python, because maybe you don't have a CS degree, you did not pass out with, CS, or you don't have a degree yet, then you should definitely get certified as a Python developer. And we provide the same also. Again, there's minus asterisks over here. If you have other languages that you've already worked on, suppose this is a different use case. Like this is for the case of a person who has done some work in C++, but he stopped coding for some time because he thought that this is not what he wanted to get into. But later he realized his passion again when he started playing games again. So he wants to get back into coding, the whole game. Then in that way, then you should not start off with Python. Maybe you should start off with C++ itself or whatever language you've worked with, because then you already have a basic understanding, and you've already had the basic understanding. Then you can go ahead with the advanced topics also. Again, choosing a language can be difficult in another way also, because you have a lot of different things like to take in factor, like what kind of project you're building. So I told you guys, if you want to start off with just a language, you start with Python. But if you want to start off with a particular project, suppose you're making an iOS app, then you should definitely use Swift. Swift is, as you can see, this is Swift. Instead of using JavaScript, you can't use it, so you need to use Swift. Or if you're working with Android, then you need to work with Java and Kotlin. Or if you're working with any websites, then you need to know again JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Node.js, PHP, Django, all these different kinds of languages. Or if you want to become a data scientist, then you have to work with Python again, and then either R or MATLAB also. You can work with any three of these. And then software development, if you want to get into software development, C# and Java are a good choice. And then game development, if you're really into creating games, then you can start off by learning C++ and C#. So again, guys, there are a lot of factors here deciding what kind of language you want to choose. I suggest Python because the Python is really easy to use, and it has a lot of use cases. It has really powerful algorithms that you can use and a lot of powerful libraries that you can make use of. All right, guys. So other than languages, what kind of tools can you use? So, debugging. So what is debugging? So if once you start coding, right, you will find a lot of errors in your code. Like maybe you made a page of code and it basically tells you the time. And right now it's not working. In the compiler, you're getting a particular error. You're getting an error that this particular thing is missing. So how do you check that out? Because in the starting, you'll be working by yourself because you're learning the basics. So you can make use of Google. Google is one of the best tools out there. Search that error. Whatever error you get, search it. If you search it, you'll find that there are other people out there who made similar mistakes like you've made. That's why I wouldn't recommend ever starting with a book, because with a book, you are narrowed down and you can't ask anyone for help. So learning online is like a really good opportunity. So use Google in your debugging. So debugging would be basically removing that bug, that is the error. And you Google it and you'll find a lot of different sources that will tell you how you can solve your error. And this is where Stack Overflow comes in. Now, Stack Overflow is something you're going to be hearing a lot of times. Like Stack Overflow is very important if you're getting into coding. So remember, Stack Overflow is basically a place. It's like Quora, but it's for like technical stuff. You ask questions and people will try to answer back with, people who are, suppose you're answering a question in Python, then a person who is really, good at Python will try to answer a question. Now, Stack Overflow has a really good community, but we in Telepath also have a really good community. If you go ahead and ask a question, then there'll be people in our community that will try to answer these questions also. So this is how you can, solve your debugging and try debugging. And these are your debugging tools. And then you have version control systems. Now, remember guys, if you're working on software development, right, then you'll definitely be writing code. You'll be coding. So where will you store this code? So if I wanted to give you a brief explanation of what Git is basically a place where you store your code. And why I wrote version control system here is because, so when you're writing let's take an example. If you have a project, right, your project might have different, like your first iteration of a project. You've made your project and it works really fine. But now you want to add more features to it. So once you start adding more features to it, you create a new version of your project. It's like having different versions of an app. You'll have application version 1, application version 2, application version 3. Now, for codes of all of those threes will be stored separately. And that's a basic explanation of what Git will be doing for you. So if you're confused right now, don't worry, just learn how to use Git. Git is very important for any coder out there, and know that it basically is used for storing your code. Then you have your integrated development environments. So you have IntelliJ, Visual Studio, and Android Studio. All of these different studios are basically places where you write the code. Now you're writing the code in them, and you're making use of the functionality they give you. Now, suppose you're writing your code in one of these IDEs, integrated development environments, and you want to use a piece of code that is very long and you don't want to write it from the scratch. So you can just use the libraries that it provides you or any plugins separately. So just remember that IDE is a place where you're going to be writing a code and using a lot of its functionalities from here and there. So guys, these are the different tools you'll need to know, and choose, basically choose the tool based on the language, or choose any integrated, there are different integrated development environments out there. You have a Visual Studio Code that can be used for different languages also, but it's mainly used for C#, C++, Visual Basic, and etc. And if you want to work with Python, you have your integrated development environment like IDLE or PyCharm, etc. All right, guys. Now, how do you go ahead and choose a project? Now, choosing a project is as important as completing the project itself, because you're going to be, using this as your main objective, your main goal. It's like, suppose you're going to be making a bot. You're going to be making a bot that posts questions on Facebook for you. So that is your project. That is your main goal. And make sure that you keep it a very simple one. Again, a disclaimer, guys. So if you're going to be starting to code, make sure that the project you're choosing is a very simple project. Even though it's simple, it still sets a goal for you, right? And now you know that you're going to be starting off simple and you're going to be choosing a project. So how do you choose a project? So guys, choosing of a project, the first thing you should do is make sure that it's simple, okay? And the next thing, ask yourself a question. Ask yourself, what are you interested in? Suppose you sitting there viewing right now are very interested in cricket and you want to get into coding. So what you can do is you can basically create a website, or you can create a website that basically lists down all the famous cricketers out there, Sachin or Adam Gilchrist, Sir Viv Richards. You can, basically list, you can create, this can be your project where you're writing, listing down all the different greatest players out there on your website. So that can be a project. So ask yourself, what are you interested in? It can't just be cricket. It can be a lot of different things, and make a project based on that. Or if you want, you can do this also. You can basically check out, see if your family is having issues. Ask them. And make sure that it's a little bit simple, or ask them what issues they're facing. Suppose they're not able to contact you properly. I know we have WhatsApp these days, but just imagine we didn't have WhatsApp and they want to contact you they want to maintain contact with you. So you can make a very simple messaging or very basic email application where you're sending mail to them, they're receiving, they're sending it back to you. A similar use case. Try to think of an idea that you like, or do you want to do it passionately, and choose that as your project. Now again, once you've decided what you want to do, that particular thing will fall into a domain. Now I said that you could be creating a website. Now website will fall into a domain of web development. So there are multiple different web domains. So let's discuss them. So you have web development. Web development, you can see all the different languages you'll be choosing, like your JavaScript, HTML, CSS, Node.js, PHP, Django, etc. And you guys see, if you notice, Django is basically used for writing the backend, and it again is based on Python. So you see how important Python is. Then you have a different domain like Android, we're using Java and Kotlin. Then you're using iOS, Swift, and for data science and data engineering, you have Python or MATLAB. Software development, Java, C#, Python again. Game development, C++, C#. So you have so many different domains you can choose from. Choose the one that you're interested in, and try to find something that has a use. All right, guys. So I've told you how you can start coding, Now let's see the learning path for a coder. So as in learning path, you'll be, so first of all, what you should do is you should make sure that you're learning online, because you can learn in classes also, but online is just much more easier. You have your own self-pace and you can do it by yourself. So I recommend trying and going out, those websites out there like Free Code Camp that provide, help you in coding. They basically give you small tutorials where you learn the basics of coding. Or if you want to be instructed by someone, if you want to be taught by someone who has had years of experience in a particular language, then you can get online courses. Now we here at Intellipaat provide a lot of different courses, and if you're choosing a language, like suppose you're choosing Python, you have a lot of things you can do. You have the Python certification training. So basically, you will be taught by different by people who are well versed in Python, who've been working with Python for years in the industry. They have a lot of experience. So if you have any doubt, they will be able to answer it without any hesitation, or at least they will try to. So guys, get certified. Certification can help you a lot, especially if you don't have a CS degree, or if you don't have a degree. If you don't have a degree at all, it's okay. Doesn't matter. Just try to get a certification and build your skills. Build your skills, add projects to your resumes, do all of those things. They will greatly help you out. And if you're a person who does not have any degree that is relevant, like if you don't have a CS degree or an EC degree, then again that is also fine. Coding is something that is easy to start with. You can easily start it off and get into it really easily also. Alright guys, so let's move back. Alright guys, so in your learning path, you should start out by learning the basics of the coding. You've chosen a field already, your domain, the project, the tools, the language you'll be working with. Then go ahead and learn all the basics. Learning the basics should take you about a month. I mean, if you're starting from beginning, you know nothing about coding, you're starting off from scratch, even then it will just take you a month to learn all the basics, all the fundamentals of coding out there, especially if you're working with Python. From there on, learning the advanced topics may take up to a few months, and mastering them even may take up to a year. Now, have you heard of any skill that you can complete and learn so easily, so fast? Well, coding is that particular field. You can learn the basics very fast. You can master the advanced elements also pretty fast, etc. So for learning path, what you can do is you can either get certified from any of the companies out there, like IntelliPath. We provide you certification where people help you out. You have your online instructors. Or what you can do is you can basically check out our blogs, our channels. If you look up our YouTube channel, we have a very good courses that we give out for free. Like they don't have projects with them, and nobody teaches you, like no trainer will be able to answer your doubts, but they're still really good and professionally made, and they'll help you start off. They'll give you a platform to start off. So you guys can go and check them, or if you want, you can check out our blogs also. And remember guys, if you have any doubts that you're not able to answer, then you can go ahead and type them in our community. So if you can just type in IntelliPath/community. And as you can see, you can easily just log in and register, and then go ahead and ask a question if you're having any doubts. So guys, that was it for learning path. You basically gotten to know how you can start coding. So use the knowledge I've given you, okay? All right, so the last thing we're going to discuss is what kind of jobs can you expect? Now, you've gotten into coding, you've at least gotten an idea, and let's just give you the juicy part now. What kind of jobs can you expect? So there are different fields out there. You have your cloud computing, software development, game development, machine learning, data science, big data, web development. There are so many different domains out there for you to choose, because you can use coding in all of these different fields. Obviously, coding is not going to be the only thing. You'll start off by coding, you'll master the elements of coding, then you will go ahead and specialize in few areas. If you suppose, let me give you an example. If you're going to cloud computing, you'll learn the architecture of the cloud. So that is again a knowledge you're getting. If you're going to software development, you'll have to utilize all the different DevOps things and cloud. A lot of different things you'll be using software development. And game development is a very new field also. It started off recently, and it also has a lot of opportunities. It's going to be a little bit more different than all the other fields, but it utilizes a lot of elements from the other fields as well as coding. And then you have machine learning. This is a very good, like a very big buzzword, because machine learning is like a very sought after job. A lot of people go ahead and learn, get very good at machine learning and get paid really high salaries, because, machine learning is the future. Then you have data science, where you're basically studying the data. So you'll be making use of a lot of other elements like mathematics and statistics, but you'll be using coding also. And again, for data science, you guys know Python is very important. Python is important for so many things. Then you have big data, where you'll be, analyzing a lot of data coming in. So, and then you have web development. So guys, these are just a few domains that I've listed. There are a lot more domains out there. You can look for them yourselves, because if your interest lies in a particular field, then you can go and look at that particular field. Suppose, let me give you the cricket example again. So, data analysis happens in cricket also, because you have to figure out how long the player will last on the field, how many runs will he make, and how's the weather going to be. So in even that kind of field, you'll be using coding. So look at the field you are interested in. Find a particular topic that you want to do, like a project you want to do. Figure out what are the different what is the language you need to learn, what are the different tools you'll need, and then go ahead and make that application, a simple one. Alright guys, as the quote says here, an investment in knowledge always pays best interest. That basically is saying, you invest a little money or in little time in learning a particular thing, like coding, and it'll pay off in the future. It'll help you out a lot. Alright guys, who are new here, or even those regulars here, we have a flat 30% off on all our courses. You can use the coupon code YouTube30 and get flat 30% off on all of our courses. So guys, go ahead, get this limited YouTube coupon code, and get your 30% off. Alright guys, thank you for watching. Here are numbers listed and our contact details. So if you want to talk to us, if you want to decide your career and you're still kind of confused, then go ahead and call us. We give you free sessions on, career counseling. We basically do career counseling also. So guys, thank you for watching, and I'll leave you be until the next time.